Are you confused about today's sexual marketplace? Lots of people are. Is chivalry dead? All of these things we'll find out today on the podcast. Today, we're going to look at a book by Myron Gaines, one of the main hosts of the Fresh and Fit podcast. His book is called Why Women Deserve Less. So that's a really objectionable title to start, but we're going to go ahead and get into some of the things that we agree with and some of the things that maybe we would temper a bit for our purposes, because though there are a lot of descriptive truths that he puts out there in terms of pointing out what is the case, I think it lacks a little bit in terms of what we would prescribe in terms of how best to navigate the sexual marketplace to find a good, long-lasting relationship that is happy and that can stand the test of time. So to get started, to introduce the concept of modern things that happen in the sexual marketplace, he tells us three quick little stories, one about Tom, Dick, and Harry. In Tom's case, he's a 15-year-old high school student who is really nervous and gets to get the courage to ask out a girl for the first time.
Sounds familiar.
Well, I mean, it wasn't the first time for me. The nervousness is one thing, but something completely different. And what he does is he asks her out plainly and awkwardly. And not only does she tell him no, she goes ahead and spreads it around social media and shames him in public, right?
Okay, that's not how that went.
Well, not in our story, but that's not the story we're talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Social media wasn't even a thing.
It did not exist back then, but it's a reality of the marketplace today, right? So you could totally see this thing happening where not only is it, hey, a no, it's an outright rejection and then a source of public shame and scorn.
It's one thing to be like, sharing the cheesemae with your girlfriends, your sisters, or like during happy hour. But it's another thing to just put them on blast like that. I was like, why?
Well, we talked a few episodes back about how the purpose of social media is attention for a lot of people. And so if you can go ahead and bring attention to something that you feel is just crazy going on in your life, then you go ahead and take something that is a molehill and you make it out into a mountain for attention and clicks.
It's just hateful.
It's a very hateful thing, but that's one of the stories that he tells real quick. And then the next story is about Dick. This guy is a guy that has two jobs. He works in the IT field during the day and is a bartender at night. And there's a regular customer that had expressed interest in him at the bar that he tends, and they spoke for a few hours. And one time he was able to find a time for them to have a date. And she invited him over to her house. And what ended up happening is the day prior, he said, hey, I'm excited to go ahead and see you tomorrow. And on the day of, about half an hour prior to when they were going to meet up, he says, hey, looking forward to it. What's your apartment number so I know which apartment to buzz when I get there? No response. He gets there 5 minutes till when they agreed, asks again, no response. And after about 15 minutes, he goes back home. And when he gets home, he sees on her Instagram stories that she's out at a fancy steakhouse with a crazy meal on Instagram with no indication of who she's with. So chances are somebody else is paying for that.
Why does this just sound like a Facebook marketplace situation?
Well, because a lot of times it is, right? Right? It's like the bait and switch where you think that you're going for one thing and it turns out that this person found a better deal or what they perceive to be a better deal, right? Instead of a home-cooked meal at home, you've got a steak dinner and wine and all this crazy stuff that's super Insta-worthy.
All that's missing is, she didn't make him leave a deposit. A cover charge or something. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Oh, that does remind me of a few social media posts where people are talking about like date deposits and stuff like that. That is just wild. What? Where people are so brazen.
WTF Gen Z.
Well, it's not even just Gen Z.
An alpha, whatever.
All of them, right? Just a lot of crazy stuff is going on. Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff's going on in the marketplace right now. So basically, dude gets ghosted, and she never goes back to the bar, and there it is. We find out why. And The last story that he tells in the introduction is about a guy named Harry. Obviously, the real names are changed to protect the innocent and all that. And Tom, Dick, and Harry is a general reference to just Joe Schmoes, right? And in that story, he talks about a guy that's been divorced twice and is on his third marriage, and he is dependent on her for care, and she is dependent on him financially, and he's got all of these obligations from his previous marriages in terms of alimony and child support, and he is in his 70s, and he's got no time left to have a great life. And he's stuck in this marriage because he needs care. And that's what he's getting out of this relationship, whereas the rest of it is just not going well.
I love the reference to all of the stress and anxiety that comes with having to provide for a family, but he gets none of the benefit for himself.
Well, sure.
It's awful. Like, that is just the worst.
All right. So I was listening to a divorce attorney talk about the responsibilities that, typically speaking, both sexes bring to a marriage, and how every single responsibility that is generally accepted as a man's responsibility or a masculine responsibility is something that is enforceable by law. But everything that a woman brings to a relationship, generally speaking, none of it is enforceable by law.
And that is totally in line with what we've already been talking about, that man has to provide all these pragmatic things, and the woman could just show up.
Sure.
Like, I am the table, and it makes sense that in the justice system and stuff like that, that is why there's a bend against men. Because, that's the metrics that they're looking at as far as the remnants of this relationship. And it's like, are you providing these things? But where's her culpability? Well, it doesn't matter,
in the way things shake
white.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the world of black and white, numbers, dollars, and cents, there is nothing there.
Sure. A court can't compel a woman to be nice to a man and can't compel a woman to have sex with a man contractually, right? But they can compel a man to provide security and to provide financial means to a woman. Absolutely, all those things are enforceable by the justice system.
This is really an extension of what we were talking about last time, where we were talking about how, it sucks the romance out of it to say it, but you need to say it, that this is essentially a contract. This is a negotiable thing where one party is providing something in exchange for something else. If you're not going to say it beforehand and negotiate it beforehand, you're definitely going to when it ultimately ends.
Right. And I think that's why I think that prenuptial agreements are really important to have. And then having a frank discussion about what your expectations are for a marriage, right? Because I think all too many times people get caught up in the feelings and the emotionality of things.
Planning a wedding rather than planning a marriage.
Right. Planning a wedding instead of the marriage. Absolutely. The other piece to it is, if a guy has a certain set of expectations, but she doesn't commit to those expectations and is kind of loosey-goosey about it, and he doesn't lock it in, that's on him, really. Mm-hmm. If he's going to go ahead and not do the proper vetting for, hey, what are the agreements that we're coming to as far as what we're looking for and what our intended outcomes should be.
Super made me think about it for a second there. Can I say the weird thing?
Yeah, go ahead. Say the weird thing.
In that negotiation, when they talk about kids, and if she's just like, oh, yeah, maybe. Or if, vice versa, she wants kids, but he's like, oh, yeah, at some point. During that negotiation time, definitely, I think there needs to be some kind of time frame, like one of those SMART goals. It needs to be a measurable amount of time. Mm-hmm. A time frame that they're thinking. Because if you just go into that, the less that you're going to be committed, that the reluctant party especially is going to be committed to that in the long run.
Right. It goes back to defining your terms. And if somebody's loosey-goosey about something that you're trying to get agreement on, there's something amiss and you probably need something a bit more concrete. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is not to say that with the, giving birth to children kind of example, hey, if you find out something after the fact, like there's a medical issue, then hey, that's an exception to the rule. And I think for the purposes of our conversation, we're really not addressing exceptions.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip. If you'd like to see more from this podcast, you can go ahead and click here, where the podcast episode is linked in its entirety. If you're new here, you might want to consider subscribing right here. Thanks so much. Make it a great day.